Shan said, this is a beginner's guide to hackathons. So just to quickly introduce myself, I'm Shannon. I'm a sophomore at Princeton University. I was born and raised in Bay Area, California. That's where I'm quarantining right now. And I've only attended one hackathon before, but I am an organizer for Tech Together New York.
Awesome, thanks Shannon. And hi everyone, my name's Margarita. You can also call me Maggie. I work in cybersecurity full time. I'm originally from Queens, New York. I am also an organizer of Tech Together New York with Shannon. And I've attended about 12 hackathons throughout my college career. So you get the two extremes throughout this entire talk, which is awesome. Awesome. So we want to start off this talk with a little activity. So what we're going to ask everyone to do is please go to the following link, menti.com, and then that whole code afterwards, which I'm not going to read. And what we want you to do is we want you to answer the following question. What do you think of when you think of a hackathon? We would prefer one-word answers if possible. So for example, when I think of a hackathon, I might think something like creativity. I might think about something like teamwork. So everyone, if you could, please just go to that link. We'll leave it up for a little while so everyone can find it. And just give your 2 cents, just give a couple of words for us. Oh, perfect. Lan was nice enough to also put it in the chat. So if you don't want to copy it off of our text, please feel free to just click that link directly.
Let me try to share the results.
Yeah.
I think this will work.
Yeah. Awesome.
Okay.
I can do it. Yep. Thanks, Shannon. Awesome. So we'll give everyone a couple more minutes. We just want to see some of the words that everyone thinks about when they think about a hackathon. And if you don't know what a hackathon is, or maybe this is the first one that you're attending, that's also totally fine. Please feel free to just put what you would think of if you thought about the word hackathon. Okay, I think we'll give everyone like 10 more seconds. Dan's gonna reload it.
Oh, there you go. That's a lot more.
There we go. Great. Okay, awesome. Well, thank you everyone who put it in. So in case it's not apparent, the way that the thought bubble here works is the words that show up the most frequently are obviously the bigger ones, and the smaller ones are the ones that show up less periodically. So I think it's really cool to look at this just to see what people think about. So teamwork seems to be a really big one. Coding, innovation, networking. These are all great ideas, and I really think that they fit into the theme of the hackathon. So if anyone put this in and was like, I have no clue if this is what a hackathon actually is, great job, because this is great. I also see lots of caffeine. Someone put that in, which is extremely accurate. So thumbs up to whoever did that.
Yeah, like awesome. The freak out swag one too.
Exactly. I was gonna say mystery. Okay, kind of like a mystery novel. I love that. Awesome.
Any changes? Okay, it's done.
Great. Awesome.
Let me go back to it.
Yep. Awesome.
Okay.
All right. Yep. All right. So Shannon, take it away.
Yeah. So we've split this presentation into 3 sections: 4 tips for the start of the hackathon, 4 tips for during the hackathon, and 4 tips for after the hackathon. And just a side note, the tips for the start of the hackathon actually really do apply like before the hackathon, so you can reflect on these tips for like future hackathons too. So tip number 1 is to set a goal. So this is really important because it kind of determines what you want to get out of this weekend, and it drives your agenda for the rest of the week. If you haven't set a goal yet, that's totally fine. here we've listed the 3 most common goals, I would say, and we've also narrowed down like why these 3 are beneficial, or 3 reasons why each goal is important. So goal number 1 is really to finish a project. I think that's like the main reason why people attend hackathons, because you have the possibility of winning an award. It's also a great way to pad your resume. Recruiters love to see when you do side projects like outside of class. And it's also a great way to learn and apply your skills to your project. Goal number 2 could just be to learn something new. For example, through workshops or just through creating your hack. The benefit of this is obviously to boost your skill set, and that can be really beneficial towards like future projects and future internships. And finally, one last goal could be to make new connections. I think this one's a little underrated, but there's so many individuals at hackathons that you have the chance to connect with. For example, you can get advice from like mentors or hackathon organizers. There's also the possibility for like job referrals if you have the chance to meet like recruiters or company reps. And finally, you can also meet new friends and peers through social events and through hacking. Now, tip number 2 is to participate in team formation. If you haven't attended a hackathon before, team formation activities are basically like speed networking at the beginning of the hackathon, where you get to meet a variety of hackers and decide who you want to work with for the rest of the week. If you're like me, you're not super comfortable with networking, here we've offered some suggestions for talking points and considerations that you may have during the team formation activity. Of course, number 1 is to introduce yourself, say your name, grade, where you're located. Maybe talk about your interests or your passions, because your common interests and passions can shape your idea for your hackathon project. For example, let's say I'm really interested in music, and let's say I meet Maggie and she is too. Then that's great. That's some commonality that we can leverage, and that maybe for a hack we can create something related to music. You could also ask about like coding experience, what tools and languages you know, or what tools and languages you want to learn. For example, let's say I really want to create an app that requires a strong backend, but I'm really only experienced in the front end aspect. Well, then maybe it's a good idea to team up with someone who's strong in the backend to balance out the skill set for the team. You can also ask about whether other people have ideas already for a project. It's totally fine to come into a hackathon like having no idea what hack you want to create yet, but you should be, if this is the case, you should be like willing to listen to other people's ideas and latch on and help them build up their projects too. And finally, referencing the previous slide, you should also talk about what your goals are for the hackathon, because you want to make sure that you and your teammates' goals align. Let's say that my goal for the weekend is to like hack the entire, like hack everything, only spend my time hacking. I'm not going to go to workshops or anything. I just want to win the award. But then let's say Maggie is more focused on learning. She wants to attend a bunch of workshops, attend social events. Well, then maybe it's not the best idea for us to team up, because our goals don't really align, and we're going to have a very different schedule. So that's something that you can consider too. So tip number 3 is to explore your resources. Hackathon organizers spend a lot of time compiling resources for all of you, and it's really in your best interest to leverage them. Well, I've kind of adjusted these so it's like more specific to a virtual hackathon. I'm not exactly sure what online platform you're using for WEHacks, but often people use like Slack or Discord or the Hackathon website. But for these online platforms, make sure that you do turn on notifications. It's not like there's going to be like a loudspeaker or anything that like you would have in a physical space, but in a virtual hackathon, you should really turn on your notifications to make sure that you hear all important announcements. Resource number 2 is the hackathon calendar. Most hackathons have a calendar of events on their website. They list like workshops, social events, deadlines, and I would highly recommend that you add this calendar to your own calendar, because you don't want to accidentally miss an event. That has happened to me before, where I was like, there's a workshop I really wanted to attend, but then I accidentally missed the time. So it's pretty disappointing. And especially since for virtual hackathons there may be like a time difference, I would highly recommend adding these events into your calendar to make sure that your time zones align. And finally, one last tip about online resources is that before you attend workshops, remember to read the description of each workshop, because some workshops may ask you to download or install software beforehand, and you really want to make sure you do this because you don't want to have to install your software while the demo has already begun. So that's just like a really quick tip about that. And tip number 4 is to start brainstorming ideas. This is something that you can actually do like far in advance of the hackathon, days or weeks before the hackathon. I know it's really difficult, quite challenging to think of like new innovative ideas. So here we've outlined some sources of inspiration. Number 1, online research. Maybe look at tech news, maybe look at recent negative opinions towards new products, and like look at current trends. You can also think about your own interests or passions, because you really want your hack to be something that you're invested in. So it'd be great if you base it off something that you're already knowledgeable about, or something that you really like to do. You can also reflect on frustrations in your own lives. For example, if there's like some technology at home that you like super buggy, that you get super easily frustrated with, maybe you can consider like improving that for your hack. You can also think about filling a gap in or updating an existing product. This is also a great idea, because you don't have to start from scratch. You can build off something that already exists. And finally, you can also look at previous hacks to draw inspiration. Hackathons often publish like the hacks that win awards on DevPost or their past hackathon websites. So I highly recommend that you look at these hacks and draw some inspiration from them. Great. So now we're going to move on to 4 tips for during the hackathon. Tip number 1 is to network. I've already briefly touched on this, but hackathons have so many opportunities to connect with a variety of individuals. In particular, we've noted down 3 groups that you'll have the chance to interact with at most hackathons. Number 1, of course, are hackers through like team formation activities, like I talked about before, socials, or just working on your hack. Mentors. Mentors are really your go-to for any technical questions, and you can often reach out to them through online chat or video call. And number 3, company reps. So recruiters or representatives from a company often host workshops, or sometimes even host like info sessions about the company. So I would highly recommend like networking with them too, to really get your name out there. So evidently, hackathons are really an open space for you to expand your network with individuals of various responsibilities, ages, and skill levels. Now, tip number 2 for during the hackathon is to attend workshops. So hackathons are not all about creating the hack. An integral part of it is also building your skill set through workshops. So workshops are often 30 minutes to 1 hour long, and they can be hosted by like recruiters, company representatives, hackathon organizers, or even just like fellow peers. Here we've listed like the 3 most common categories of workshops, and I'm going to do an overview of each one. Workshop category number 1 is like learning new development tools or languages. Great thing about hackathons is they usually have workshops that span a variety of skill levels, so it can start from as basic as like intro to Git or intro to HTML, CSS, and go into really advanced topics too. So they cater to a variety of skill levels. Another great category of workshops are resume review and career help workshops. I would highly recommend attending these. I've seen like recruiters do live reviews of your resume, or other workshops where they provide invaluable career tips that you really can't get anywhere else. And some also have like technical interview workshops too. So it's not all just about like technical development. There's also like career development too. And finally, workshops can also be a great way to get advice from industry professionals. This sometimes comes in the form of workshops, often in the form of panels, where you can ask questions and have like a more interactive discussion with these professionals. I'd like to add a note. One advantage of virtual hackathons is that it's really easy to attend workshops, whereas in a physical, like in-person hackathon, you would have to move from like classroom to classroom or place to place. For a virtual hackathon, all you have to do is just like sign into a Zoom room. So even for these virtual hackathons, if there are workshops that you're even just like slightly interested in, I would highly recommend that you just attend them anyway. If you like it, that's great. If If you don't like it, it's okay. You can like leave more stealthily. So that's just one like perk about virtual hackathons. So as you can see, workshops really provide an opportunity for you to boost both your technical and your professional development. Yeah, so now I'm going to hand off the presentation to Maggie. She'll finish off tips for during the hackathon and also finish tips for after the hackathon.
Great, thanks Shannon, appreciate it. I am not as good with words as Shannon, but I will try my very best to sound as professional as possible for the rest of the talk. So our next tip for during the hackathon is take advantage of sponsored perks. I know this is going to sound really silly, but a lot of sponsors do have, and they do offer a lot of tools and a lot of subscriptions that normally you wouldn't be able to get for free, or it would be very difficult to obtain even with a student discount. So having these sponsors at the event that are willing to give you access to their subscriptions and their platforms completely for free to be hacked is definitely an advantage. It's definitely an advantage you want to use. So please don't be scared. Like, take advantage of these tools, test them out. Even if you find that it's a tool that maybe necessarily you're not that comfortable with, or you don't have an interest in, it's definitely a chance to use it, because later on in life, it's going to be very hard to get access to certain platforms. One example I can use is that I went to a hackathon where they actually gave a Tableau subscription, and I didn't actually realize how expensive Tableau is if you want to purchase it later on in your career, even for my job. So, I saw the subscription and I was like, oh, it doesn't matter. I don't like this tool. And then later on when I went for an interview, I actually had a recruiter that asked me if I knew how to use Tableau. And I remember beating myself up because I was like, if I had taken that subscription and played with it a little bit, at least I could have said I had some fundamental knowledge of the tool. So please, if you have that opportunity, sign up for that trial, sign up for that. They don't usually require a credit card. It's really useful to just have these tools on hand and play around with them if you have that possibility. So moving on. And then our last tip for during the hackathon is to do something fun. I feel like we've stressed, taking advantage of talking to career professionals, meeting people, setting a goal for yourself. But the most important thing to remember about hackathons is that they are a fun environment. You want to do something fun for yourself. You want to do something to help you relax, and you really want to be able to come out of it with a great experience overall. So a lot of hackathons do have fun workshops like yoga, Kahoot, calligraphy, virtual mafia, and you can do a lot of these events virtually as well. So I know most hackathons will be providing them. So please, in the middle, if you've attended a ton of workshops, you've been hacking for like 6 hours straight, take a break for yourself, do something to help your mind relax. You owe it to yourself. Mental health is really important. You want to make sure that you cater to to both your mind, but also to your spirit. So, yeah. And that concludes 4 tips for during the hackathon. Moving on to 4 tips for after the hackathon. Tip number 1 is add your project to your resume. So there's a ton of different online tools that can be used to showcase your skills, so you should definitely be taking advantage of them. So some of the platforms I have listed here are GitHub. That's the first platform that recruiters will look at if you're interviewing for a software engineering role. They'll look at your GitHub, they'll see how active you are, they'll see what you have on there. Please take a minute, upload your code to GitHub. It really will benefit you in the future and in the long run. Second, I know Shannon mentioned DevPost. DevPost is a great website for uploading your project. It's not as technical based as GitHub, but it is a great way to just showcase what you did. The good thing is you can also add your teammates on there, so you can add the people that you worked on the project with. But you can also upload videos of the project to show how it works. You can, and if you do end up winning at the hackathon, you get a little ribbon on your project, which is kind of cute. So please upload your project to DevPost. Make sure to showcase it. It's a really great tool to use and to showcase for yourself. Next is LinkedIn. I know that most people hear about LinkedIn all the time, whether it's through your career advisors at school, whether it's through people like me and Shannon giving these presentations. LinkedIn is a great resource to showcase yourself. So don't be afraid, whether you win or whether you don't, it doesn't really matter. Take a few minutes and write up a post. Showcase the fact that you put together this presentation. Showcase that you put all this time into creating this project. So don't be afraid to put that there. Facebook, Some people use Facebook in a professional way, believe it or not. I personally know that anything I posted on my LinkedIn, I usually post on my Facebook, because if someone was to Google my name, they would probably find my Facebook first. So I wanted to make sure that anything that I did, I also showcased on there. So maybe you could also put up your project on that. And then the last thing is your school career website. I know that everyone's school career website is a little bit different. Some of them, could be very, very useful, and some of them maybe aren't utilized as much as they should be. But definitely, if you have that ability and you know that there are recruiters on that platform, take a second, upload your project, and just make sure to have it there. Any way that you can showcase yourself, any way that you can show the work that you put in during this event, please take advantage of it. It's there, you might as well do it. And I put a little note on the bottom of this, which is that you worked hard, don't be afraid to show it off. Some of us do fear showcasing our work because we say, okay, is that me showing off? Hey, I wanted this hackathon, or hey, I put in all this work. No, you worked hard, you should show off. And it's not a bad thing to show off, I promise. Moving on. The second tip we have is follow up with recruiters. So one question that I get a lot from students is, okay, what's the ideal timeline to follow up with recruiters? That's a great question. When it comes to hackathons, I would personally recommend following up about 2 weeks after the hackathon, and here's why. If you follow up too soon after the hackathon, it's very possible that that recruiter is being bombarded with a lot of emails from the event. So you don't necessarily want to get lost in their inbox. I can tell you from experience, I've given out my email to students and I'll get like 50. I'll try and go through them, but I will lose a couple in the midst, and I'll get them emailing me like 2 weeks later, like, hey, I didn't hear back from you. I'm like, I'm so sorry. Like, I had so many emails that came in that one day. So ideally within 2 weeks of the hackathon would be my suggestion to reach out to recruiters. Because anything after that, you're also risking the recruiter not remembering you. And you want to make sure that you establish a good connection with them at the event, so that you could email them later and say, hey, it was so nice to meet you, this and that, so on and so forth. And I'll go into that a little bit more. The second tip I have is to make it custom. So you want to customize your emails when you're emailing recruiters. I know that for some people, especially myself, I am guilty of this. I will say, I don't want to customize it. I just want to send a mass email out. It's easier. Believe me when I tell you, making it custom really does make a difference. Using the recruiter's name at the beginning, introducing yourself, referencing the company, referencing the exact position that you're applying for, maybe referencing something that you spoke about during the hackathon, it really does make a difference, and it shows the recruiter that you're really putting in the effort and that you actually are really passionate about connecting with them. So definitely take that opportunity and customize the email as much as possible when you're reaching out to them. Like I said, it is more work, but it definitely does pay off in the long run. And then the last tip is be yourself. I know that, again, I myself have this habit that when I meet a recruiter, I try and put on this professional voice, I try and put on this professional persona. But I found that in most cases, the reason I get a job interview, or the reason that I actually move on to the next step of the interviewing process, is because I'm being myself. I'm not trying to pretend I know more than I do. I'm really just showing them my honest self and saying, hey, I'm really passionate. I want to learn. I would love an opportunity at your company. So remember, don't be afraid to showcase who you are, because that's who you're going to be every day of your life while you're at that job. So you really want to show them your honest self. Moving on. All right, tip number 3, give feedback. So at the end of the event, usually hackathon organizers will send out a survey. And this is going to sound a little silly initially, but please take a minute to fill out that survey and give organizers feedback about the event. It doesn't take very long. I can tell you from experience, it takes like 5 to 10 minutes. And you telling the organizers what you liked and what you didn't like from the event really helps them with putting together the event for the future. I can tell you that every hackathon I've ever worked at, we've taken that feedback super seriously, and we actually welcome it, good or bad, because we really want to improve the event and draw a bigger audience every year. So please, if you do get that email from organizers at the end of the event asking for some feedback, please give it to them. I promise you they will take it to heart, and they will try and improve the event next year. And on the plus side, you'll also be telling them what they did well, so they know to do it next year as well. So that's our little tip from an organizer's perspective as well. And then our last tip is to sign up for more hackathons. So hackathons are awesome. So our last tip for everyone is very simple: sign up for more. We put MLH's website on here just because they're one of the bigger companies that you can go to locate additional hackathons to attend. So www.mlh.io would be where you find a lot of upcoming hackathons. And the good thing is because I guess the good thing is because all hackathons are virtual right now, everyone can attend them from wherever you are in the world. So please, if you have fun at this hackathon, if you enjoy hacking, if you enjoy learning more new skills, attend more hackathons, And I always tell this to any students that I work with: do not feel obligated. You are not forced to attend every single hackathon. You can attend hackathons for specific workshops. You can attend hackathons for specific things that you want. You don't need to feel like you need to stay there for the entirety of the event, but every single event that you attend does build your personal portfolio. So that is definitely something to consider. And other than that, that's it. That's our little speed presentation. So Shannon and I provided both our LinkedIn, so please feel free to connect with us. But that being said, if there's any questions at all about hackathons or anything we didn't cover here, we would love to open it up for any questions. Please feel free to put your questions in the chat or unmute yourself and ask them if we're comfortable with either or.
Yeah, I have a question. I just transferred to a CS program. In general, how much coding do I have to know to actually contribute to a hackathon project?
Shannon, would you like to take this one?
Sure. I mean, I guess it really depends on the caliber of the hackathon, but I would say most hackathons are welcoming of people of all skill levels. For example, for Tech Together, we actually emphasize that we do welcome beginners, and it's totally fine. You can be put in a group of beginners, and you guys can all contribute an equal amount if that's what you're concerned about. But I think regardless of your skill level, you should just try and attend hackathons, and that's how you really build up your portfolio and build up your skills. Maggie, if you have anything to add to that.
No, I think that's great. Like you said, we always say that everyone and anyone is welcome to hackathons. I've organized events where we didn't even cater specifically to computer science majors. We were actually open to marketing majors. We had philosophy majors, history majors. So I personally don't think you need to know any coding. I think anything that you know, anything that you want to build, a hackathon will give you the resources to learn it there.
Can I have a follow-up question? How long will a hackathon last? Is it a one-day event or?
So that's a little difficult to answer because hackathons vary. I've seen hackathons as short as 4 hours. I've seen hackathons as long as 48 hours. So the good thing is most hackathons will advertise how long they are. So when you go to sign up on their page, you will see how long it is. So you can find a hackathon that fits with your schedule. If you know you only have 4 hours, go to that 4-hour one. If you feel like you want to invest a whole weekend, go for that 48-hour one.
All right, thanks.
Hey, Susie, I have a question. So you kind of mentioned this terminology that I'm not familiar with, build a hack and you're making a hack and you're doing this stuff. So I'm basically asking what it is essentially. So it sounds like it's a conference with different workshops, and usually there's hundreds of people in an auditorium at their computers doing stuff. But can you talk a little bit about what you mean, I guess?
Maggie, do you want to take that one?
Sure, no problem. So let me start off with the definition of hack. So a lot of people don't know this, but the definition of hack is actually to build something. So when you say that you're hacking, it actually means that you're building something in this context. So So was it, I'm sorry, was it Sarah? Yeah, Sarah who, I believe you asked the question. So I think you actually got it right on point. The way that physical hackathons usually work is, yeah, it's a big conference auditorium. I know that, you know, for Tech Together in the past, we use Aganis Arena, which is right by BU. It's a big arena. You've got people that are hacking, that are building projects for specific causes. And then you also have separate rooms where you've got workshops taking place. So you are in control of your time. If you want to, you know, if you want to spend all your time, like Shannon said, going to workshops, you're welcome to. They're usually going around the clock, so you get to pick what you want to go to. Otherwise, if you want to spend time hacking in the main area with your teammates, that's also an option. There's also other fun side activities, like I mentioned. There's usually games that are going on, exercise, anything that you want to do. So a hackathon is really custom to your experience and what you're trying to get out of it. Does that answer your question, Sarah?
Yes, it does. Is there usually like, so it was mentioned like it'd be a good idea to kind of think about what you want to get out of it before. Is there usually like a topic or a main problem that's being addressed at a hackathon?
Yeah, usually, I'm not sure if WEHack has one this year, but I think most hackathons do have a theme each year. For example, for Tech Together New York this year, our theme is all about embracing uncertainty, like creating solutions that will help people navigate unpredictable situations. So usually there is some overarching theme, but within if you're going for an award, there are also different like award categories. So you can also create a hack that's specific to an award that you're going for. But that's just, I would just say most hackathons do have a theme, but not necessarily.
Yep. And a safe bet is that there's always certain generic categories that I've found at a lot of hackathons. You know, like a lot of sponsors will sponsor categories like best financial hack, best environmental hack, best beginner hack. So there will be certain standard themes that you will see pop up consistently. But you don't need to go along with the theme. It's usually very broad, so it's something that's open to interpretation. Like Shannon said, embracing uncertainty. One could ask, embracing uncertainty in what? And that's what we say, you know, in whatever you want. You want to embrace it in school, you want to embrace it in your everyday life, you want to embrace it in healthcare. Whatever resonates with you, just go with that.
Yeah, and I see in the chat that they mentioned that WEHack's theme this year is robotics, so you can create a hack like using that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm gonna read some of the questions.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think Maggie, you'll probably have better insight on this, but Yoshi asked, what hackathons have y'all had good experiences at?
I had a great experience at a hackathon called Perkins Hacks a few years ago. It was actually the first hackathon I won at, but it's not for that reason. Perkins Hacks took place at Perkins School for the Blind in Boston, and we were building hacks that were specifically aimed towards helping individuals who are visually impaired. And I'm going to be honest, I actually didn't even want to go to that hackathon. I was really hesitant. I was calling up my friends. I was like, I don't want to go. I don't know how to build hacks for the visually impaired. I have no clue how to work with any of these programs. Like, it's just not good for me to go. But after some convincing, I ended up going. And it was actually an awesome experience. I'm not going to lie, I cried the entire weekend because we had such amazing people that we met that had these incredible stories. So I guess the best answer I could give to that is the best hackathon experience you're probably going to have might even be the one that you don't want to go to or that you don't expect to learn from. So that was my best hackathon experience personally.
Yeah, I'm going to move on to the next question, but also kind of relate back to that because I've only attended one hackathon. But the question is, do you prepare work before you get to the hackathon, or do you start brainstorming after you create your team? Maggie, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think you're supposed to start like working on the actual hack, like writing the code before the hackathon. There's usually a time that you start. So if it's like, if they say the hackathon's 48 hours, that means you're only supposed to write the code, work with your team during that 48 hours. But of course you are totally open to like think of ideas before the hackathon. I guess that's really the only preparation work you can do. You just can't actually write any code for it beforehand. But of course, okay, so you also asked, do you start brainstorming after you create your team? You can also do that. There are like people that come into hackathons without any ideas, and you can start brainstorming after you meet people that you like want to work with. So for the hackathon I attended Hobby Hacks in July. So that's also a Tech Together hackathon that we were kind of like trialing to see how a virtual hackathon would work. But I attended it as a participant, not an organizer. And in my case, I didn't have like any idea what I wanted to work on. I kind of just like signed up for the event pretty last minute. And so I went in not having any idea what I wanted to work on. I met a couple people that I got along with pretty well with, and they already had an idea in mind. And so I kind of just like went with their idea and helped them like brainstorm and expand it. And so that's like also an option too. You don't have to come into the hackathon with an idea. And they didn't actually start any preparation work for it either beforehand. They only had the idea in mind, and we started coding it on the day of the hackathon. Mm-hmm. And Daisy also asked, does anyone know of some beginner hackathon events going on? People replied below, check out Eventbrite, also check out the MLH website. Those two are great. Maggie, do you have any other resources you know of?
Honestly, the way I found most of my hackathons is I just Googled hackathons. Obviously the MLH website is great because you find a lot of hackathons all located in one place. But like I said, Google is a great resource, honestly, to find things. And if you're looking for a hackathon that specifically fits with the theme you're interested in, I literally used to go hackathon and then plus environment, and I would find hackathons that maybe weren't organized with MLH, but that were focused on environmental causes. So I would participate in those. So yeah, just honestly, that would be my tip for that. And I do just want to point out that Jimmy was nice enough to give a couple of suggestions. Oh, I'm sorry, not Jimmy. What is it? I lost the comment. Yes, it was Jimmy. Never mind. Jimmy was nice enough to give some resources on the top of online resources that are available for students to get. GitHub Education, Google Cloud gives you $300 to play with with GCP. AWS gives you free training and AWS credits, and Masterclass has $1 classes for students. So those are all, like you said, free resources or resources that are available for students to get. The GitHub Student Developer Pack is honestly one of the best ones, though. I think it's estimated to be close to $9,000 of stuff that they're giving you in software for free. So it does require an application, but it's definitely worth it.
There's also a question from Simon. He asked, I'm self-taught and I've only got knowledge in Java and currently learning Python on Code Academy. What projects can I work on in order to be a valuable asset to the team at Hackathon? I'm currently building a Java calculator GUI, but it does not look great. Any suggestions would help a bunch.
So I would say, first of all, thank you for asking. I think it's good. It's always good to talk about, what we want to learn and how we want to expand. I would personally suggest just keep doing what you're doing, like go on Code Academy, go on online platforms, and try and practice a few different languages. But I wouldn't go into a hackathon with the mentality of, oh, am I going to be valuable to a team? I think that just going in with the intention of learning and with a passion for whatever cause you're going for is honestly the best thing you can do. So I wouldn't worry about brushing up on my coding skills. I would say just go to the hackathon with an open mind and find people, like Shannon said, that maybe you get along with, that you have a common purpose, that you have a common goal for the event, and that will be your most valuable asset. That's my 2 cents. Maybe I'm a little too positive on that, but I think that's the most important thing to remember.
Yeah, I agree with that too. And yeah, I agree that you shouldn't, like, as you're learning like Java, Python, you shouldn't be thinking about hackathons. I feel like hackathons are more of just like a side project that you can do, but it shouldn't necessarily be your main goal. I think your main goal should just be trying to learn something new. Some tips that I've gotten for really expanding your skill set, one is like working on open source projects that you can find on GitHub, or also in my case, like one way I was able to expand like my web dev skills was joining Tech Together New York. I joined like a technical team and I was able to help build the website. So you can also do something similar where you join groups or organizations that are looking for people to help them with their website or other technical projects and contribute to those too. Does anyone have any other questions like about hackathons?
Sorry, Shay, I was on mute. I was like, yeah, anyone else, please keep the questions coming. You have Shannon and me for a little bit longer, so please, and it doesn't have to be hackathon centered. If you have general questions that you want to ask us, you know, we're here. I don't know how much advice I could probably give someone about, you know, resume reviews, but I can definitely take 2 shots at it.
Simon also asked another question: which languages should I study up on for a beginner hackathon? I would say the most common like beginner language workshops they have at hackathons are like HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Java, Python. I don't like Swift too, if you're interested in like web dev, app development, or like React. But it seems like you already know Java and are learning Python. I think that's like already a great base. It's not all about just like learning a bunch of languages. It's also like learning to apply what you already know. So hackathons themselves are a great way to learn new languages. I don't think you need to do any prep work beforehand. You can really learn while you're at the hackathon. But as I like mentioned before, those are some languages that you can learn if you are interested.
Shannon, I think this is a great question for you because I don't have experience with this. How can you build a team in a virtual hackathon?
Oh, okay. So what I did was I attended like a team formation activity. I did meet some people through that for my hackathon, but I didn't actually end up teaming up with those people. What I did was, I think for Hobby Hacks, we had like we used Discord, and we had one channel that was all for like self-introductions. So everyone wrote like, hi, my name is X, I go to this school, I have like this experience. And I just reached out to people, like I just DM'd people and I was like, hey, do you want to work together on a project? I mean, most people are really open. I don't think anyone will say no. So I think it's just good to be brave enough to put yourself out there. And sorry, to be brave enough to put yourself out there and like network with people.
Another question that came in that I think is really good is someone asked, is any grade level okay? I'm a freshman in high school. I can take that one. I would say usually yes. Most hackathons do also cater to high school students, but if you are worried about, attending a hackathon that might primarily be undergraduate students, you can always check the hackathon's website. They'll usually say what groups they cater to, and you can see if high schools are included in that. But I personally encourage any grade level to get involved with hackathons because they're a great experience, and if you get involved with them at a younger age, great for you. I didn't get involved in hackathons until my junior year in college. So I think getting involved with it your freshman year, kudos to you. That's a great that you're looking at it right now. I'm trying to get my brother to do it. He's a freshman in high school, but I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon.
Maggie, I'm not sure if you already mentioned this, but there are like also hackathons that are high school only, or like my high school also like held hackathons annually, so you could look at that too. If there are like high schools in your area that are having hackathons.
Yeah, that's a great point, Shannon. Another question that came in, what are some tools you have learned from hackathons? So I learned how to program my Google Assistant to talk to me. I know that sounds a little silly because Google Assistant already talks to you. So one of the hackathons I attended, Google was hosting a workshop where they taught you how to use Firebase. And basically you could program your assistant to give you customized answers. So what I did was I taught my assistant to basically be a smartass. So it was actually a really fun workshop. I enjoyed it, and you definitely get a lot of laughs from your family and from your friends for that. So I think that's probably my best memory at a hackathon of learning a tool. Was just learning how to program my Google Assistant to talk to me and give me answers I wanted.
I don't like when I went to Hobby Hacks. I don't think I really attended any tool specific workshops. I think most of the ones I attended were language specific. But I do know that many hackathons have like GitHub, like intro to Git and GitHub workshops. I've also attended a workshop before for like Android Studio. That's something that's often like featured at hackathons too. But yeah, I have pretty limited experience though, so I can't say much about it.
Yeah, it's interesting, definitely. There's a lot of workshops at events, so I would say similar to scoping out what hackathons you want to go to, sometimes the workshops you don't expect to have fun with are the ones you have a blast at. But then you'll also go to workshops sometimes where you might be completely lost. I can tell you for a fact, I've attended 12 hackathons and I've organized a lot more, and for some reason, I still do not have any clue what people are talking about at AWS workshops. I am completely lost there. Doesn't matter. They'll explain what AWS is. I'm like, I have no clue what you do, and I have no clue how to use you as a tool. So, full disclaimer there.
So Maggie, I think this question's probably much more relevant to you than me, but how did you manage to navigate your career in the developer world?
How did I get? My story is very complicated, and I don't know if anyone wants to hear it, but I can give you the very quick TLDR version. I don't have my degree. I managed to get my current job just purely through networking, attending hackathons, and self-teaching myself. I have a very controversial opinion about college, so I'll just put that out as a disclaimer. I think that hackathons have been instrumental, though. Organizing hackathons and attending is really what led me to my personal career right now, which is in cybersecurity. Because I realized that I could learn a lot more by teaching myself and by learning from industry professionals than I could in a college classroom, where I was probably falling asleep in class. So for me, hackathons have been vital to my career development. But again, everyone's different. And like I said, mine is a little controversial, so that's my SparkNotes version.
I mean, I've barely started my career in the developer world, so I feel like I can't give that much advice. But maybe my advice goes a little bit against Maggie's, but I would suggest that you really take advantage of what your school has. As for my school, we have like events all the time. We have workshops all the time where you can like learn. Like yesterday, I actually attended a workshop all about like technical interviews that was hosted by Capital One. Or last week, I went to like a resume workshop, and this week I'm also going to like a resume review by a recruiter. So like your school has like a lot of different events that they just like blast out there, and if you don't really pay attention to them, you might miss them. So I'd highly recommend that you look at what your school offers. Join different listservs. For example, I'm on like the listserv for the ACM club at Princeton, but I'm not even really a member. I'm just on the listserv. But they do send out like weekly newsletters where they offer resources like internship opportunities, different workshops or presentations that they're hosting. And so I kind of like leech off of those sometimes. So just really take advantage of what the resources your school provides, like the organizations do, and as Maggie said, like attend hackathons.
I do want to call out a comment that was made here. Alexander said, coding is not the only way to present a product at the end of the hackathon. That is 100% true. I do want to say that. It is obviously good to have coding with it, because when it comes down to it, the judges will look at your code and you will see what you used to develop it. But it's not the only way to present. At the beginning of my hackathon journey, I know I used to focus a lot on making video presentations and PowerPoints. So that's another way to present your product. But most of the time, the judges will ask to see your code as well. But please don't feel like you're restricted to only show your code. You can definitely show your creative side. I mean, we had a graphic designer once on our team that went all out. He made these beautiful presentations in this one pager. So please don't feel like you're restricted purely on code. You can let your creative side show when you're showcasing your project. And you do still have us for 5 more minutes, so if you do have any more questions, please feel free to throw them in here.
So Jasmine posted a question that I think goes back to what you said before about self-teaching. She says, I am an exercise science graduate with a minor in IT, and what advice would you give to someone who is self-teaching themselves?
Don't do something you're not interested in. Again, that could be me being very optimistic, but don't try and learn something you're not interested in, because in my experience, it doesn't end very well. I personally am pulling my hair out by the end of it. So if you are going to focus on teaching yourself, try and pick languages, try and pick things that you personally find you have a passion for. Obviously, try out different languages, see what you like, what you don't like. Like, I personally hate C++. That is one language that I cannot tolerate because there's just too many problems with it and too much nitpicking. But I wouldn't have known that unless I tried it. So I know that if I sat down and tried to focus on C++, I wouldn't be able to get very far. But if you put me down and you try to get me to focus on Python, that I can do, because I think Python's an awesome language. So I would say, yeah, focus on languages that you personally find are easy for you to navigate, that work with the logic, that works in your brain. Everyone thinks differently. Everyone has different ways they process information. So make sure that whatever coding language you pick reflects that.
Some advice I would give, I've also self-taught myself with online courses. One piece of advice I would give would just be to have a schedule, set a goal for what you want to do. So usually for the courses that I've taken online, they usually divide it into modules, or they usually divide it into modules or exercises. So I would usually set a goal, today I'll finish this module. I think it's really important that you have some sort of that you create a schedule for it, just so you don't forget what you learned, and also it makes sure that it keeps yourself responsible for actually learning. I mean, it pretty much is like taking another course in addition to what you have at school. So I would treat it that way. And yeah, and also I would say that paid courses are not necessarily better than free ones that you can find online. There have been some Coursera courses that I did regret paying for. So I would recommend exploring different resources, see what works best for you. Personally for me, Coursera is pretty video based, or there's a good balance, but I personally don't work well with videos. So I work a lot better with just reading through stuff. So that's why Code Academy is a much better platform for me. So I would just go with whatever learning strategy works best for you.
Yep. I know we're cutting it a little close to time, so do we have time for one more question, or should we end the session now?
Maggie, maybe you can say, what do you think the hardest hackathon you participated in? with or know of?
Oh, okay, that's a hard one. All right, I don't remember the name of it. I'm going to be honest, I don't remember the name of it, but I know that there is a hackathon that is put up by the U.S. government that's sponsored, and it focuses specifically on cybersecurity. Again, I don't remember the name; it's slipping my head right now, but that is a pretty hard one that I've heard of. Because it's fully cybersecurity based, and cybersecurity is a very new topic that a lot of people don't know. So it's very difficult to follow along with some of the workshops. And some of the categories I've heard are really odd. Like they actually ask you to be a black hat, which is interesting. But that would be that would be the hardest one I've heard of. But I would say most hackathons are pretty much on the same level. I can't say they differ in terms of difficulty, except for that one that I've heard of. But I personally have never participated in it.
I think in terms, there are quite a few hackathons that are definitely more competitive. For example, like, let me think, like Tree Hacks and Penn Hacks and MIT Hacks. Those are all like very, very competitive, and I know it's like even hard to get in. Doesn't necessarily make it hard to like hack at them. It's just that they usually, I guess they have like more clout, so that's why they're a little bit more competitive. Yeah.
I would say for those hackathons specifically, like you mentioned, Shannon, it's very hard to even get into them. So it's like even if you get into them, you're competing with some very, very smart people. Like I know I tried to get into MIT Hacks like 5 times and it was unsuccessful.
Yeah, you don't need to go for those at all, honestly. I think multiple people have asked if we could share the presentation. I'm not sure if that should be done on our end or on the organizers' end.
Yeah, we'll coordinate with the organizers. If anything, maybe we can send it out after the event is over. That might be easier.
Yeah, we can share the slides as well if you're interested in sharing the slides, but we also have the recording available on YouTube.
Great. And most importantly, if you do want to get the slides, make sure that you signed in at that link that the organizers were nice enough to share at the beginning of this chat. Otherwise, we won't have your email to send it to you.
I can share that again.
Great. But awesome. So for any additional questions, Shannon and I did share our LinkedIn, so please feel free to reach out to us. We are here. We are available for anything you guys might need. Other than that, thank you for your time. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. And I just want to give a huge shout out to Shannon because this was her first time presenting, and I think she did an awesome job. So I just want to give her a huge shout out. So I'm going to pretend everyone's like virtually clapping on that.
Thank you, Maggie, and thank you everyone for coming today. Hope you guys all have a very successful week.
Yes.
Awesome.
Thank you, Maggie and Shannon, for presenting a great session. And thank you everyone else who has attended and stayed for to the end, and also sharing, asking a lot of questions. I think that's really interactive.
Yep.
Okay, great. Thanks everyone. Bye. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.